Hi, everybody. This is Mrs. Carlton. I hope you had a nice long weekend. Memorial Day is usually a signal that we are getting to the end of the school year. So we only have a few weeks left. So let's hang in there and finish up our last few lessons, okay? Now, because of Memorial Weekend, we didn't have school on Monday, so this is a little bit of a shortened week. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to shorten the lesson. So we're going to do lesson 8 and 9 today. Okay, so I'm kind of putting them together, but I'm going to shorten them up a little bit. But you'll only have to do one self-assessment. It will say self-assessment for 8 and 9 together. All right, we are moving on to chapter 8. So we're doing section 8.1. It's on page 336 in the Big Ideas Math textbook. So if you have your book at home, if not, remember you can go to bigideasmath.com. And today we are working with cylinders. Okay, mostly volume, but we're also going to work backward and find height. So a cylinder, remember, is like a Pringles can or a soup can, okay? So it's tall, it's got a circular base. Now, a couple things that we need to remind ourselves, anytime we're working with volume, the units are cubed. Okay, so we're going to be doing that from now until the end of the year, is working with volume and height of three-dimensional shapes. So we have to remember that our units are cubed because it's three-dimensional. So if you're trying to find the volume of something, like this is my pencil holder, okay, from school, and it's the shape of a cylinder. And basically that means that the top is round and the bottom is round. Okay, and then it's a certain amount tall. All right, so if I'm trying to find the volume of this cylinder, that means I want to figure out how many little cubes it will take to fill this cylinder. So if I'm working with centimeters, it would be like how many little tiny centimeter cubes fill this container. Or if I was inches, how many little inch blocks would it take to fill this container? All right. So we have to remember that the units are cubed, which means we put a little 3 next to them. And the cubed is because it's three-dimensional, length, width, and height. Okay? So something else we want to remind ourselves is the area of a circle. And that's important because with a cylinder, the top and the bottom are round. See, here's the bottom, here's the top, they're round. So you've learned this back probably in 5th grade, maybe a little bit in 6th grade. Area of a circle is the formula pi times r squared. And for pi, we just use 3.14. If we were at school, we do have a pi button on our calculators. But for now, we're just going to use 3.14. And we're going to multiply that by r squared. So remember, r squared means r times r. Okay? So those are just a couple reminders. So when you're using your calculator for this, you're going to get answers that are mostly big, long decimals because of the pi or the 3.14. So just round everything off to the nearest tenths. As long as you're close, your answer is going to be okay. All right, so let's start off with example 1. We're going to have to draw the picture. So draw an oval. Now, it took me a while to get good at drawing these, so if you're not good right away, don't worry. Kind of follow me. So you see how I started with the oval, draw your lines going down, a curve at the bottom, and then this is the trick. You do a dotted line. Okay, so that's our cylinder. And the 2 measurements we need are the radius is 3 meters. The height is 6 meters. Okay? So for this cylinder, you can see in the book, or if you also look up other YouTube videos, they'll give you the formula. The formula is just for finding volume. We want to find the area of the bottom, so that's the circle, so pi times r squared. So if I were to figure out like how many cubes would fit on the bottom, and then I multiply it by how many layers I can stack inside this container. So if I want to fill that bottom layer, then I would multiply it by the height to figure out how many layers I would fit. So this is the area of the bottom. Okay, so this is what we call the base. And we multiply that by height. Okay? So in this case, I'm going to use 3.14 for pi times my radius is 3. So 3 squared times the height is 6. So go ahead and plug that into your calculator. 3.14 times 3 to the second power times 6. Remember, the 3 to the second power means 3 times 3. So it's really multiplied by 9. And we find out that V equals 169.6 meters cubed. Because remember, our units are cubed. Okay? Now, this one gave us the radius, so we were lucky. But often you'll see one. Let's draw another one that gives us something different. Okay, so here's another cylinder. And this time, they give us the measurement all the way across. Does anybody remember what that's called? 24 centimeters. All the way across is called the diameter. So halfway is radius, all the way is diameter. But our formula calls for radius. Okay, so if we want radius, that means we have to do something with this measurement. And our height is 21 centimeters. So I want radius, which is only halfway, which means I have to cut this in half. Okay, so that means that if the diameter is 24, the radius would be 12. You only have to do that when they give you the diameter. So if they give you the distance all the way across, remember to cut it in half first. So remember, formula is V equals pi times r squared times the height. So we know our r now because we divided that by 2. So 3.14 times 12 squared times 21. And remember, 12 squared means 12 times 12. So you got to punch that into your calculator. Get your calculator going and you find out that this equals 9,495.4 and it's centimeters cubed. Okay? All right, I'm going to give you one. I want you to pause the video and try it by yourself now. Okay, so this time I'm going to give you a cylinder. Same exact process, but the cylinder is laying down on its side. Okay. If you're not good at drawing the pictures, no worries. Remember, you're the only one that sees your notes. It's okay. I'm going to give you the radius, so it's already given. It's 4 inches. The height is 12 inches. So start with the formula. So this is an on your own in Oyo. Start with the formula, right? So we want V equals pi times r squared times h. So go ahead and pause the video and fill in what you need to, and then come back. All right, hopefully you're done. Let's see here. For pi, we use 3.14. Our radius is 4, so we do 4 squared times the height is 12. Even though it's lying down on its side, that's still the height, because it's like taking the cylinder and putting it down on its side. We still want to find the area of that base and then multiply it by how many layers would fit inside the container. Okay? So when you multiply all of that together, you should get somewhere around 602.9 inches cubed. Adam, can you answer the phone, please? Okay, so that's for volume. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to, sorry guys about that interruption. My phone was ringing at my house. All right, so what we're going to do now is similar, same formula, but it's different because they have a different piece missing. So draw a cylinder. Okay. All right, so here's the cylinder, And once again, we have radius 5 meters. This time, we don't know the height. That's our unknown variable. But they do tell us the final answer that the volume is 314 meters cubed. Okay, so we're going to be using our algebra because we're going to set it up like an equation, and we kind of have to work backwards. Okay, our formula is the same, so let's start with that. V equals pi times r squared times h. Now, as always, we're going to fill in what we know. We know the V. It's right here, 314. Equals, we know pi, 3.14. Times radius, we know the radius, 5 to the second power. H is our unknown, so we leave it as h. That's the variable that we're looking for, okay? So let's simplify. We can do this part here to simplify. All right, so we have 314 on this side. When you do 3.14 times 5 squared, now remember 5 squared is 5 to the second power, which is 25, you end up with 78.5. And it's still times height, okay? So if we were to think of this as a one-step equation where we're trying to get h by itself, that's our variable we want to isolate, and it's being multiplied by 78.5. So to do the inverse operation, we have to do the opposite, which is divide both sides. And we want to divide by 78.5, so that way we would end up isolating h and getting it by itself. So these cancel out, leaving us with h, which is what we wanted. So go ahead over here and do this division, 314 divided by 78.5. Do that on your calculator. And you should end up with about 4 inches or 4 meters. Now, I've been cubing all of my other units. Why is this one not cubed? Anybody know? Well, because this one is just our height. Okay, when you're doing volume, it's cubed. But if we were working backwards, we just wanted to find the height, so it's 4 meters. It's just a plain measurement. Okay? So you have that one extra step when you're looking for height, and that's because you have to work backwards to get h isolated. So one little extra step there. Okay, I'm going to give you an Oyo, and on your own. So try this one by itself, okay? Let's see here. So remember, this could be like a soup can or a Pringles can. All right, here we go. The volume I'm going to give you is 250 inches cubed. And the radius is 4 inches. Height is missing. So I want you to pause the video, try to find your height, and then turn it back on, okay? Remember where you're sticking with that same formula. V equals pi times r squared times h. Okay, so go ahead and pause. Okay, did everybody get it worked out? So let's fill in what we know. We know this is 3.14. I forgot volume has to go here, 250, because we know that. Times my radius, which is 4 squared, times h. We leave the height as h because we don't know what it is yet. So I'm going to simplify this. So 250 stays there. 3.14 times 4 squared. So that's like multiplying it times 16, right? Because 4 squared is 4 times 4. So that equals 50.2 times h. Now remember, all these numbers I'm rounding off because they're big long decimals when you use pi. Okay, and now in order to get h by itself, we have to divide both sides by 50.2. These cancel out, so you have h alone, which is what you wanted. And over here, 250 divided by 50.2 is about 5 inches. So that's our final answer. The height is 5 inches. Okay? All right, any questions there? Okay, so cylinders is like our first 3D object, and we're going to do cones, and we're going to do cones, maybe spheres if we get to it. I'm not sure. Cylinders, cones, spheres, we'll see. But they're all going to be using similar formulas where you find the bottom and multiply it by how many layers will fit inside, okay? Now remember, this is your only lesson for this week. So when we fill in our planner today, it's just one thing, okay? So this one lesson is going to cover the whole week, all right? So you already had Monday, which was the 25th. There was no school that day. Today's 26th, 27 Wednesday, 28 Thursday, 29th on Friday. So you could do this any day out of those days, okay? Any time during those days. So we already did the notes, so hopefully that's done. Next thing you want to do is choose a worksheet. I have a few options for you. There will be one labeled 3rd and 4th hour for those of you who are in the class with me and Mr. Webster. Okay, choose a worksheet, do it. Don't forget to check it. Okay, the keys are also included. And then do the self-assessment on the Google Classroom. Okay, the self-assessment will be labeled lesson 8 and 9 because that was today, lesson 8 and 9. Okay, you will have a quizzes. I'll give you a couple quizzes on there to practice if you want. They will not be points, but it's always good practice. And that's those games that you play, the quizzes games. Also, one of the worksheet choices is an online game that you can play. I might put that up, or the quizzes. Just take a look at your options, okay? The worksheets will always be loaded right below the notes, and then the self-assessment and the quizzes game will be under classwork because those are assignments, okay? All right, so have a great week. Good luck. Remember, if you have any questions, give me a call. Give me a call. Give me a holler. Give me an email, probably the best way to get a hold of me, okay? All right, see you guys soon.